Thank you, everyone. I'm Sebastian. I'm a compulsive eater. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the Grey Sheet. I write those meals down. I commit them to my sponsor. I don't eat anything in between. Abstinence is the most important thing in my life. I feel very uncomfortable doing this share. I haven't been well, to be honest, but I have to. When I got asked to do the share, I knew I had to do it. I know when God wants me to do something. So, when God wants me to do something, I'm going to do it. Um, so, thank you, Ellie, for asking me to speak. Um, yeah, I've been like really busy recently, and I've been rushing weighing my food, and I don't know. I get OCD and paranoia sometimes um, about getting it perfect because to be abstinent, abstinence is, if it's 1.0, it's 1.0. If it's 8.0, it's 8.0. I know for, ladies it's different because we eat different amounts, but a lot of people say 4.0, but I don't have 4.0 unless I'm having something different. But the point I'm making is it needs to be exact, and I always make sure my abstinent date is the 28th of September 2021 by the grace of God. And yeah, I just shared recently in a meeting how, I was sort of worried, having that OCD and that paranoia, and instead of the Grey Sheet police arresting me, I got asked to speak. So that's why I'm here. And yeah, and I kind of knew that I had to do this. So I'm just going to try and tell you my story. I was born in High Wycombe, which is where I live now. No, I was born in London actually, but I grew up in High Wycombe with my mum. And I don't know, I always start my share with this because my first ever memory was my mum force feeding me abstinent food, and I didn't want the food that she was feeding me, and that's my first memory. So my first ever memory involves my mum and involves food, and I always say that's significant because it is significant to me. Obviously, being a compulsive eater now in food recovery, um, and there's a lot of issues I couldn't deal with. The situation I was born into. My mum had a lot of issues. It was just me and her. My mum and dad divorced. My second memory, I was holding a non-abstinent drink in my dad's van, and I dropped it, and it went everywhere, and he shouted at me. So my second memory involved my other parent and food. So there was a problem for me with the world and food from a young age, and yeah, maybe more with the world than with food. But I say that, but yeah, I did obviously have a problem with food. I didn't really know it that young. I mean, I didn't really have any control or autonomy. So anyway, growing up was difficult with my mum. I didn't know that I had mental health problems. I didn't know I had addiction. I didn't know that I was on the spectrum. I got diagnosed like the end of last year with ASD1. I didn't even know that. But I knew growing up that I kind of felt different to people. I didn't feel comfortable around people. I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel like everyone else. And I turned to addictions, and I couldn't talk about things. I didn't know how to talk about things. And It's never really safe to talk about things. The only time I ever really felt connected to anything emotionally was music. When I heard music, I could relate, to what was being sort of sung, and I could really feel some connection. But I just grew up in a lot of hostility, really, really around, my parents being broken up, and my mum just, I don't know, like she just, it's very difficult for me to even try and put into words what it was like. Basically, she had a lot of problems, and I had a lot of problems, and those problems didn't get dealt with, and so yeah, I just became addicted to a lot of things. The food obviously was a big part of that, and I don't know. I just ate whatever was there. I ate whatever was there, but I ate obviously a lot of non-abstinent food, and Um, I don't really recognize the allergy that we have in grey sheet. Like, I'm allergic to carbs and sugar, and we don't eat grains, we eat, starches, things like that. But I didn't really notice the allergy for myself until, I was well into recovery in other fellowships, and COVID happened. And I think for me, it's like a bit like whack-a-mole, or like the bin lids. I put one down and it comes out in another area. And my addiction, it's like my addiction is always going to find a way to come out. And I've crossed invisible lines all through my life. And um, yeah, for me, it was like COVID. It was COVID. When I was alone with the disease. I had all this money. That I was getting from like welfare and stuff, and I didn't really have to spend money on anything because COVID, there was just nothing to do but addiction basically. And I really struggled, to be honest, with the whole COVID thing and the isolation. And it was very difficult because my mum was dying of alcoholism, and my grandparents were, they were kind of, granddad was getting dementia and being moved into care home, and my grandma and my dad, and the whole thing just all happened at the same time. And I'd also lost a relationship with a woman, that I was, hoping to marry. And yeah, it just all happened at the same time. And there was nobody to stop me with the food, and that's where it went. And it was all like fast food. I'd go shopping, and it was just like all of the worst kinds of foods I was buying. All the sugary carbohydrates, like everything. And I was abusing it, like. And then I would like starve myself because I hated myself, and I just didn't even feel worthy to eat anything. And yeah, and then it got really bad. And I did these, like, there was a lot of 12-step workshops happening during COVID. I was doing as much recovery as I could. And I met some people, and it's funny because it's happened in a couple of fellowships, but I tried to actually help someone. And that's when I went into into Grey Sheet trying to help someone. And it he didn't end up staying, but I ended up sort of speaking to someone about it. But I don't know, I wasn't ready. And then, but I'd had a spiritual awakening because I'd been through the steps in other fellowships. And so I was in tune with something in my heart and in my spirit. And I was connecting with some guys, and from Grey Sheet, and other fellowships that were in Grey Sheet. And yeah, and I just knew, like, that I had to do it. And for me it was like, it was like really bad constipation basically. For like 4 days I couldn't go to the toilet. I was taking laxative. Like, my stomach was, really felt like it was broken. And I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to have a colonoscopy, something's really wrong. But there was just no one, there was nothing that could help me, like in terms of like medical professionals, nutritionists, people in recovery. I tried OA, but I was able, in OA, it was like I could eat, free snacks, and free meals. I mean, that just didn't make sense to me to be able to snack these foods that, were clearly not good for me. And so Grey Sheet was the only kind of way. And there was this guy who, he, I don't know, he was on the Grey Sheet, and he was always happy. He was always well. The Grey Sheet was working for him. He was like one of those people. And like a really good guy. And basically, yeah, just I think God put people in my path. I think it was God's plan for me, to go this way. It was always God. God knew, God had a plan for me. Um, and I was like, if I don't do this, I'm gonna die. You know, well, I mean, I didn't know it would work, but I knew that I was gonna die anyway because I was genuinely convinced with what was happening with my stomach that I was dead. So it was like, I may as well try this if I'm gonna die. So that was literally where I was at, and I was living in a hostel. My mum died. Didn't know what was gonna happen in terms of where I was gonna live or where my life was going. And so it was a bit more than just about the food. I know we always say, a lot of people say, it's the food, it's the food, it's the food, but for me, it's way more than the food. This is my entire life. This is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. This is absolutely
Sebastian, that's 10 minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, this is absolutely everything for me, and so I gave my life to this really, and that was July 2021. I haven't eaten anything off the grey sheet since that, since I started. But I made like so many mistakes. It took me 3 months to get abstinent on the grey sheet, like actually, because I just kept making mistakes. And I think the sponsors I had were a bit too, over the top with that. But in the end, it was like I just gave up because it was like I don't care about my day count. I just want to do grey sheet. I don't care if I'm on day one for the rest of my life. As long as I'm doing the grey sheet and I'm eating abstinent, I don't even care about my day count. And anyway, like when my mum passed, I inherited some money, and you know, it was interesting when I joined Grey Sheet because it was quite. There was a lot of new retreats started happening, like the first ever Texas Grey Sheeters Anonymous, first ever Madrid Grey Sheeters Anonymous, first ever men's retreat, first ever Mexico retreat. I went to Jerusalem, or Israel. I went to Grey Sheet all over the world. Like in my first 2 years of Grey Sheet, it was like, it was amazing. And yeah, I mean, Grey Sheet just took my life and completely transformed it. It was amazing. And it still is amazing. But those first 2 years, like, wow, I mean, they were just amazing. And yeah, just when I went to the first men's retreat, I met my sponsor now. I definitely couldn't have a better sponsor. I know that. I have the best sponsor. Yeah, and for me, and yeah, I've been to the men's retreat. I'm gonna go for the fourth time this year, and do service. I don't know. I've been through a lot in abstinence. I've been through health problems. Family problems, relationship problems. Addiction, mental health. I'm still going through it, but like it's just been no matter what. I weigh and measure my food. I just do this every day. I have service. It's like God's plan for my life is not my plan for my life. And I don't know. I've had my own plans and ambitions, things that I've wanted to do, but it's just like there's something, I don't know what it is. It kind of manifests like fear, and then it kind of turns into kind of illness, and then I don't know. My life takes another direction. But if it wasn't for the fear or the illness, I wouldn't have the blessings that I have today. Like it kind of takes my life in a different direction. Like I'm so heavily involved with service now, and sponsees, and yeah, I know that I'm young in this fellowship. Only like 3 years abstinent, and it's like it's a long journey. Hopefully, if I stay, I want to be here when I want to be 30, 40, 50 years abstinent. I don't have any plans of leaving this fellowship. Yeah, I love my food. I've had my 3 meals today. I enjoyed them. God is very much doing for me what I can't do for myself. And I don't really know what else to say. I'm trying to find things to say. There's a lot I could say, but trying to say it in 15 minutes is, I don't know if it's not really possible.
You have 1 minute left.
Thank you. So, I don't know, just if you're new, if there is anyone new in here, just keep coming back. And yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. Thank you for letting me share.